Platform as a service, known as PaaS, resources are gaining popularity because they eliminate infrastructure management and allow developers to focus on building and deploying applications faster. They provide scalability, built-in security, and automated updates. This reduces operational overhead. With integrated services like databases, AI, and DevOps tools, PaaS simplifies development while improving efficiency. Additionally, businesses benefit from cost optimization by paying only for what they use. As cloud adoption grows, PaaS continues to be a preferred choice for modern application development. When Azure PaaS services first emerged, such as web roles and Azure SQL, they lacked traditional network perimeter defenses. The assumption was that these services were meant to be internet facing, with authentication acting as the new security boundary. For example, Azure SQL and blob storage rely on authentication rather than traditional firewalls. Today, modern security practices assume that attackers have already breached the network perimeter. That's why security has shifted to identity-based defenses. You need to establish a strong identity perimeter with robust authentication and authorization to safeguard your applications and data. While traditional network security has been around for decades, identity-based security is still evolving. However, we now have enough industry experience to provide proven best practices that apply to nearly all PaaS services. Let's unpack best practices for managing the identity perimeter for securing PaaS deployment. First, secure your keys and credentials. Losing keys and credentials is one of the most common security risks. You should store them securely using a centralized solution like a Azure Key Vault, which protects secrets using hardware security modules. Azure Key Vault encrypts authentication keys, storage keys, data encryption keys, certificates, and passwords, and ensures they remain secure. So think about using Azure Key Vault for securing keys and credentials for PaaS services. Next, never store credentials in source code or GitHub. The only thing worse than losing your keys is having attackers find them. Hackers use bots to scan public code repositories like a GitHub for credentials. Never hard-code secrets in your application. Instead, use environment variables, manage identities, or Azure Key Vault to securely store them. Next, protect VM management interfaces on hybrid PaaS and IaaS services. If you are managing virtual machines alongside PaaS services, never expose RDP, SSH, or PowerShell remoting directly to the internet. Instead, use secure alternatives like VPNs, just-in-time access, or Azure Bastion. If direct access is unavoidable, enforce complex paraphages and multi-factor authentications to reduce risk. Next, use strong authentication and authorization platforms. You should rely on platform-based identity solutions rather than building custom authentication. Use Microsoft Entra ID federated identities instead of maintaining separate user stores. This ensures that identity changes, like employee onboarding, automatically reflect across all systems. Additionally, use built-in authentication mechanisms provided by Microsoft rather than custom-coded solutions. Authentication is complex, and most developers are not security experts. Using a well-vetted platform-based approach minimizes security risk. Next, enforce multi-factor authentication. MFA is the industry standard for protecting both administrative access and customer-facing services. You should configure Microsoft Entra multi-factor authentication for Azure management interface such as Portal, Remote PowerShell, and all critical applications. This prevents almost 99% attacks. And lastly, use standard authentication protocols. You should leverage widely adopted authentication protocols like OAuth 2 and Kerberos, which have been extensively peer-reviewed. Most cloud platforms, including Azure, offer native support for these protocols, which make them the safest and most reliable choice. In summary, by following these best practices, you can strengthen your identity perimeter and protect your PaaS resources from modern security threats. Security is no longer just about the network, it's about who has access, how they authenticate, and what they have authorized to do.